Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and I'm super excited because today, we just got a bunch of new cards released from the Forgotten Treasures expansion. And today we are playing a new and unique deck built all around one of those cards. Unfortunately, this week's seasonal event changes all of the cards in our starting deck, which is the worst conceivable event in the week of a new expansion. So today, we're playing in Standard. So let's go take a look at the deck. So today we're playing a Skellige Rage of the Sea deck that is fundamentally different from any other Skellige deck that I have ever seen because all of it is built around one of the new and extremely exciting cards. That card is the Magic Compass, which is a tutor showing us 3 cards in our deck. We play one of them, discard the other 2, and then get an echoed copy of Magic Compass in the next round. However, if we have fewer than 3 cards in our deck when we play this, rather than seeing 3 cards from our deck, playing one of them and discarding the other 2, we will get to choose any legendary Skellige card that is not from our starting deck, which is absurdly powerful. So for that reason, this entire deck is built around thinning out as many cards from our deck as possible to set up Magic Compass for a huge finisher at the end of round 3, opening the door to new Skellige Hyperthin decks. And Skellige doesn't have that much thinning, but it has a whole lot of discard. So that means that at the beginning of the game, we're going to want to discard as many cards as possible so that we can get down to 2 or fewer cards in our deck when we play the echoed copy of the Magic Compass in round 3. We can get a little bit of discard with Coral and get a whole bunch of damage, so we'll want to play her early in round 1, then discard more cards with Birna, and maybe discard even more cards with the Skald, and maybe even the Dimun Pirate. The cards we want to target for discard are Morkvarg and the Tuirseach Skirmishers because they will get summoned from our graveyard back into the melee row when we do so. The next best option is the Crow Messenger because if we have one in our graveyard, we can play the other Crow Messenger and summon the other one from our graveyard. And if you don't have any of those ideal discard targets, then it's preferable to discard a unit like the Messenger of the Sea, Melusine Cultist, or the Hermit, rather than a special card. Also, heads up that I was trying Offering to the Sea while I was playing this deck. However, I recommend that you swap out this card for Jutta to give you another potential target for discard. Because even if we do discard one of the bronze units that we like, we can play it using Freya's Blessing. And if we have Eist on the board when we do that, then we will immediately resummon those cards onto the board. Other than that, you saw some Rain Synergy bronze units, so those go along well with Melusine, which collectively give you more potential for both damage and boosts in round 1. Then by the end of the round, make sure that you've played Magic Compass so that you get the echoed copy of it in the next round, and of course this gives you even more discard. Then in round 2/3, we can use cards that bring things back from our graveyard onto the board, like Fucusya, Sigrdrifa's Rite, and those Freya's Blessings, to get more of our Rain Synergies back up and running. And the more base power Melusine got in round 1, the stronger those combos will be, because that means bringing her back can give you a lot of carryover. Then, near the end of round 3, you should have 2 or fewer cards in your deck, setting up the echoed copy of Magic Compass. That means that you no longer play a card from your deck, and you no longer discard any cards from your deck, but you get to play any legendary Skellige card that is not from your starting deck. So if your opponent is doing a lot of boosting, then you might consider dropping a Dire Bear, in which case you might want to do this a little bit on the earlier side. If you've done a good job damaging your opponent's units, then you might consider Wild Boar the Sea at the end of the round. Or if you're in the lead and there are a lot of damaged units on the board, you could play Chad and potentially prevent them from playing whatever their last card is. But that's the greatest thing about Magic Compass. There are so many options that really the only limitation is your imagination. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, it is fundamentally completely different from any other Skellige deck I have ever seen or played before. So I'm super excited to try it out. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Syndicate here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we have both Eist and the Magic Compass. Those are both big. Fucusya, although not so much something we're looking to play right off the bat. Birna gives us some discard. That's the thing that we are seeming to be a bit lacking right now. So let's get rid of maybe some Freya's Blessings and maybe the Messenger of the Sea. Okay, that's not really what I was looking for, though. Sigrdrifa's Rite, also not really what I'm looking for, at least not yet. Crow Messenger, we definitely don't want to have 2 in our hand. Okay, this is, we do have Curse Scroll, which we can use to fix things up a little bit. I'm thinking of Coral is the key card I was looking for. But at least first off here, I mean, we can play a Messenger of the Sea. I was kind of thinking we would wait a little bit to do rain stuff until a future round, but we hadn't gotten the second Crow Messenger into our hand. That would have probably been our initial card, but no, we bricked that at the very end, so this is, that could not have gone too much worse, at least with our mulligans there. So, it's either going to have to be Dimun Pirate, or it's going to have to be a Messenger of the Sea. I guess we'll go Dimun Pirate, and we hope that this is not an amazing card that we discard. Okay, no, that's fine. Hysteria, oh, they have Bounty deck? Looks like they may be, and at least at the moment they're unitless, which is unfortunate, and that's actually an 8 base power. That's a pretty significant card for them to target with a Bounty, so that's a little concerning as well. But I think we might need to go Curse Scroll into Birna here, fix up our hand at least a little bit, or at least Curse Scroll. Tell you what, we go Curse Scroll, not to Birna, we have Birna. Coral is what I mean. And then let's get rid of a Crow Messenger. Then at least we can play a Crow Messenger. And that gives us the ability to wait a turn before we start doing all of our discard stuff, because we'd like for them to have units on the board when we do that. Payday, it's still unitless, still going after that bountied unit, and it gives them a ton of coins. No boat, notably, but still no units for us to deal damage to with Coral, which does kind of stink. I mean, we could play her and then just proceed to not use her order ability. I suppose that is an optional, though she is, at that point, a bit of a sitting duck, especially when they have all these coins. They may have the ability to take her out immediately. So, in that case, maybe, tell you what, let's use Messenger of the Sea here. And she's going to be a little bit of bait. A little bit of bait here. I highly suspect they're going to destroy this. Or at least put a bounty on her so they can destroy her later. You know, I would appreciate if you would play a unit sometime soon. But perhaps now we play Coral, because presumably, if you do have more damage in your hand, which you definitely do, you're going to go after Messenger of the Sea, since this is the card that currently has the bounty on it. So it might mean we have at least a little window of time in which it's safe to play Coral. Okay, it's Freak Show. Well, they have more than enough damage, as it turns out, in that case, to go after Coral as well. So that does stink. That is exactly the thing that we were saying we expected them to, that they might do. We were just waiting for it to happen, and we could only stall for so long. As for what we do now, though, now we could go Birna, discard this Skirmisher, and potentially one of the other cards that we draw into. That might need to be the plan. Okay, fortunately we have 2 Skirmishers, so yeah, that does work quite well. Witchfinder. Was expecting this to show up once we saw that they were a bounty deck. But it's a little bit of a late play. Let's see, with those coins there, I mean, a leader ability, I suppose, they can certainly get enough to take down Birna with the Freak Show, and then they'll get a new bounty on someone else. So they are going to have a pretty big turn on their next go-round. Is there anything we can bring back that would be interesting with Sigrdrifa's Rite? I mean, we could get a Dimun Pirate out here. We could get Coral, actually. But, not really sure that's how we want to be using that. We, probably go Magic Compass. Get the Echoed Copy. And then, let's play, I think, Freya's Blessing, actually. Because those other cards are going to go into our graveyard, which can be played with a future Freya's Blessing. And then I think we go the Cultist, in large part because it has armor. And so if it does end up being the card that gets the bounty on it from the Witchfinder, then it just takes a little more coin spending for them to take it out. It's just slightly less efficient, because I don't think in either the case of the Cultist or the case of any of those Messengers of the Sea that we are actually going to play any further to get them boosted up. And yeah, they do go after it, and so they spend the coins to do so. Ewald, for more damage, it is enough for them to take the lead, as we suspected it might be. Because, yeah, they just really handicapped us big time when they went unitless at the start of the round for quite some time. So, I mean, at this point, you have the bounty. Obviously, they're going to try and take it out if we are to play any further. But I'm not sure that we want to at this point. Again, we can bring back the Pirate or Coral with Sigrdrifa's Rite, but whatever big card we bring out is going to get the bounty from Witchfinder, at least at the end of their next turn, and they're going to take that out as well. So, I think we might just need to pass here. I think we might just need to pass here. As unfortunate as that may be, I mean, leader ability plus Cultist may be the only alternative to that. Alright, tell you what. Let's at least force them into doing a little more here, but I think, you know, they have a really strong setup here with Freak Show and Witchfinder giving the bounty to set up Freak Show. So, generally speaking, I think this is a losing battle that we are fighting right now. Tavern Brawl. I was thinking they might have had that. Fortunately, we didn't go that tall, and oh, look at this. Okay. Suddenly, this looks much better for us to pass now, because we are still in the lead. They will take a little bit more damage from the rain. So, I mean, presumably they'll still be able to catch us if they play one more turn, but at least they're going a card down and we're not losing on even, because of course that would stink. So, I think we salvaged at least that. And might have even forced them to play one of their biggest cards, because Morils is a really good one. And they had to use it on a weak bronze unit, so I think we'll take that trade. Okay, so we didn't get quite as much discard as we would have liked in round 1, since they got rid of Coral before we got the chance to use her. So we still have 6 cards left in our graveyard. That means Skald is significant. We'd like to have a better target for it, though, other than, say, Freya's Blessing. Melusine is a card that we would like to play to get the carryover, because she is usually the preferred target for Sigrdrifa's Rite. If not Melusine, then we could potentially use Sigrdrifa's Rite to get Coral, and then use her to get some more discard, and that way, suddenly we have set that stuff up, but I guess we're going for this. Might even be Skald discarding Melusine at this rate. Yeah, or get rid of Sigrdrifa's Rite and try to draw back into that. Could go Skald and Melee Row and just deliberately not discard anything. But no, I think we're just going Melusine. Not going to have any time to increase her base power, but she's an option to bring back in round 3 in that case. And, you know, without any increased base power, you can make a stronger case for bringing Coral back instead, or maybe even a Messenger of the Sea, although the Melusine is going to be the primary source of rain to power up those Messengers of the Sea. So, yeah, I think it's Melusine. Obviously, it's a very big card to be dropping as a throwaway, but that is just kind of the place we found ourselves in there. Okay, and this is why we wanted to play Melusine. We can potentially bring her back with Sigrdrifa's Rite. We can potentially play Sigrdrifa's Rite again using Bride of the Sea if we get enough rain out there. And we did get Morkvarg, which is a preferred discard target for the Skald, so I do like that a lot. We might want to go Coral with Bride of the Sea, or rather with Sigrdrifa's Rite, for Eist. That could be an option, although, I mean, if we can get the second round of Sigrdrifa's Rite with Bride of the Sea, then I suppose it's the best of both worlds. Fucusya into Coral as well. So, what are our alternatives here? We do have potentially more discard if we get rid of Hermit and get the Skald, but we will have enough with this Skald to get to 2 cards in our deck, so that will trigger the extra ability, the special ability, on Magic Compass, so I think we're still fine there. And Hermit will go well when paired up with Melusine, so I think that's probably fine. If we're planning on, you know, what is Sigrdrifa's Rite going to bring back versus Fucusya versus Bride of the Sea into Sigrdrifa's Rite, I think the answer is we'd like to bring back something that is a little bit cheaper with Fucusya, so we get the extra rain, and that would probably be, I'm thinking, a Messenger of the Sea. So that means, why don't we go first with Sigrdrifa's Rite into Melusine. And then we can put the Hermit next to that. I technically should put her in the melee row, because Morkvarg can end up in the melee row more quickly and easily, increasing her base power. Then again, at this point, the base power on Melusine is not a huge deal, because we didn't have the chance to carry her over from one round to the next with any higher base power than she starts with. So that's really the biggest factor in round 1 or round 2, so that when you do what we just did, you're getting bigger than just a 7-point unit. She does have Veil, which is interesting to see how they deal with that, because we've seen they have a lot of bounty. Oh. Well, that's how they're going to deal with it. Okay, then. I mean, we can, technically, still bring her back if we'd like with Fucusya. I mean, I was just saying how we'd like to perhaps go with Coral instead, but... If we don't get Melusine, Hermit is suddenly much worse. So we did have Bride of the Sea was another druid we could have put next to Melusine as well. So... we are going to get Melusine, we want to do that quickly. It is not enough rain with just leader ability, though, to make that happen. Ooh. Okay. We have a Freya's Blessing in there. I think we might need to go Skald. And get Freya's Blessing. Perfect. We discard you. And now, with Freya's Blessing, we can get a Melusine Cultist. Oh, Mutants Maker. A Melusine Cultist from our graveyard. So that's more coins, so they're trying to get rid of something here. Neither of these cards are all that important to us right now, but we have anything with 3 or less power that can get rid of it. So my thought was, we use Freya's Blessing to get Melusine Cultist, to give us a little bit more rain, and then that plus our leader ability should be just enough from Rite of the Sea, I think, to get us Melusine once again. So that's the plan. But it means first we need to go Freya's Blessing here. And let's go with Melusine Cultist and take your pick as to who we want to be potentially boosting. I guess we'll go there. Oh, that is unfortunate, though. So there goes that plan. Because we needed that extra rain in order to have the weather effects necessary to power up Rite of the Sea. We have an alternative there. I mean, we could go Freya's Blessing into another. Well, actually, we just played our last Melusine Cultist, because that one had Doomed. So I guess it could be a Dimun Pirate we really wanted. Discard another card from our deck there. But we should start to think about Eist. And I think that means we may need to be thinking Fucusya into Coral very, very soon, if not right now. Probably right now. So we do really want to wait a turn before we use Coral's ability there. But if they have more damage, they can get rid of her with Junior. Okay, they put a bounty on her. But it is not enough, at least not yet. And that is key, because we just wanted to have one turn in which to do this. Technically, if we had a leader ability damage a little more of these guys, that would have been helpful as well. I mean, they just played this, so we never would have had the chance to hit them with Rage of the Sea anyway. But... I'm just thinking again about Rite of the Sea into what looks to be Freya's Blessing. And probably has to be Melusine Cultist, right? Or rather, Messenger of the Sea, because we don't have any Melusine Cultists. But, well, we have Coral down here. She is not long for this world. So let's go Eist. And then let's use Coral to discard probably the Hermit. And get that back out. Deal a little bit of damage. And it might be worth doing this as well. Technically speaking, probably should have waited a turn so that Bride of the Sea would have been a little bit easier to pull off. Well, Bride of the Sea should still work. The question will become, with Magic Compass as what looks to be perhaps our finisher, what is the plan there? We could also get rid of Orson with Delirium, which is quite tempting. Yeah, we knew that Coral was going to go down. That's why we need to use her ability on that turn. And now it's just bleed. We're trying to get things down to, or just splitting out the bleed, I suppose. I was going to say, probably trying to set up Junior to take something else out on the next turn, which they might be able to do with Fucusya. But we could get rid of Junior and the Witch Hunter with Delirium. However, the rain is already going to damage them at the start of their next turn, so we're missing out a little bit on that rain value, and I think we probably do want to play Bride of the Sea now, while we still have one more turn of rain, because that gives us just enough to use a Freya's Blessing. So I think that's probably the answer here. And yeah, I think we have to do that. And I mean, we could go Dimun Pirate and discard the Skald, which actually would work. Tell you what, I think that is actually the play. Because if we do this, it should discard you, and that will trigger Eist. So we get a few more points out of that. So now it's Delirium, at this point, potentially on their range row. Unless they play other stuff in their melee row, which they will. Okay, it's to give a bounty, which is smart. So Eist has already done his thing. They have just enough coins. That is significant, because then, assuming they get rid of Eist, they'll trigger the bounty and give them the coins back. Now, splitting up the bleed across as many units as they can. And now, we can take out everything in this range row with Delirium. Not a bad option. That Witch Hunter Executioner, as we're seeing, is continuing to cause a little bit of trouble. Or we can go Magic Compass and get quite literally any legendary Skellige card, which I'm trying to think of what the best option would be. I mean, Wild Boar of the Sea is always something that comes to mind, especially when they have several damaged units. That's pretty tempting. Otherwise, I mean, they aren't boosting, so Dire Bear doesn't make a lot of sense. We could go with a Point Slam with Olaf, but I don't think that's going to be the best fit. Certainly not if they have the potential to put a bounty and destroy him. So I think it might be Wild Boar of the Sea, which means it's best played on their last turn. So, or on our last turn, so I think we do go Delirium here. I mean, I'm sure there are other legendary Skellige cards that I'm not thinking of. It's just that with quite literally unlimited options, it's, you know, the only limitation is our creativity. Okay, Tunnel Drill. So now this is what we have. It's any legendary card. I was saying Wild Boar of the Sea is tempting. But, actually, on our last turn, why not Chad? And with, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damaged units, it's going to get a lot of armor. It'll be up to 7. It'll deal 7 damage to whatever they play. I mean, they are pretty damage-centric, so if they have coins, they may still be able to destroy our cards, and Chad may not slow them down all that much. That may even be a crime in their last, with their last card. But that might still be worth taking that risk. Because I'm not sure we have a better alternative. I mean, Sucrus to protect one of our units, maybe. They don't have anything that's highly boosted, so Morkvarg doesn't make a lot of sense. I think it is... Where'd you go? Chad. I think it is Chad. We do have a big lead still, so that's definitely a good thing as well. And they will just forfeit, so there you have it. The Magic Compass is amazing. Alright, so going up against monsters here. And we'll go first. Okay, so we have Eist. That's great. That's one of our target cards. And, I mean, Sigrdrifa's Rite is also nice, but we'd like to have some more discard here early. Obviously, we can get some discard package with Cursed Scroll. But we'd like to have our Compass at the very least. So, I do like having some discard targets, though. So, I guess we have a little bit with Skald. Why don't we get rid of the Melusine Cultist, and probably this Melusine Cultist as well. Okay, Coral is really big. That's one of the cards we're looking for. So, in that case, why don't we... Yeah, I mean, we're probably looking to dump you as well. There's Magic Compass. Okay, so that's huge. We now suddenly do have a lot of the cards that we're looking for. So, in that case, I think we might even... Well, we don't have anyone to damage with Coral, so... Okay, we won't play Coral on the very first turn. But, I guess we could go Crow Messenger. Do we have an alchemy card in hand? We do. Yeah. Okay. I guess we do this. Okay, it's Imlerith. and he gets pretty big. Okay, so now that they actually have a unit, it does start to make sense to play Coral. So I'm thinking we definitely go that route. And what don't we need here? I mean, I guess might as well discard Tuirseach Skirmisher or Morkvarg. Damage you there, get you back out, and we will end up using Curse Scroll. In fact, might as well do it now to get... Where'd you go? Birna. And then probably get rid of one of these Freya's Blessings. What I'm thinking. Okay, was expecting our get. This is true. That's a Winter Queen. We'd love if we had enough damage with Coral to outright take her out, which, with Birna, it's fairly likely, at least we're willing to perhaps use a leader ability charge as well. So now I think it is time to go with Birna. And let's try to row stack here a bit. It looks like Tuirseach Skirmisher is probably going to go back into our graveyard, but... oh well. So let's play you. Okay, this does give us more discard, so we might want to keep you. The damage from Delirium may be helpful to get rid of Winter Queen or anything else they put in their range row, so we might want to hold on to that as well. We are going to have a lot of stuff getting discarded into the melee row, aren't we? So I guess, I mean, we should go for Morkvarg, and then I think Freya's Blessing. Okay, so we got 1 round of damage on Winter Queen, dropping her down to a 2. So they may look to boost her. They should right now, but they may not. In which case, we may take a brief pause in the discard to take Delirium here to their range row and get rid of all these guys, because this is an engine, and that can get a big boost if we don't get rid of it. So I think that's probably still worth doing. And that's why we held on to Delirium. Okay, Wild Hunt Warrior. They do still have dominance, yeah. Okay. So now we can discard further with the Skald and with the Dimun Pirate. We'd kind of like to save one of those for when we have Eist, which may not be in round 1, but I suppose Magic Compass may be sufficient to set up Eist in and of itself. Speaking of Magic Compass, might be approaching time to play that. Otherwise, we could. Offering to the Sea, deal a tiny bit of damage to them, deliberately just get rid of Morkvarg because he's going to go down to the Frost anyway. And, no, it's probably not all that meaningful. So, in which case, is there anything with Sigrdrifa, right, we want to get back right now? No, definitely not. Okay, so, yeah, I think it might be Dimun Pirate. Okay, that's fine. We'll take that discard. And if we did use a leader ability charge, we could get dominance, but I think we'll live. Hopefully. Well, somebody's going down. Alright, our tallest unit. Makes sense. Little bit of frost left. We can still discard further with the Heymaey Skald, but as I was saying, we might still want to leave some of that available to us in a future round. So, or we could also, Sigrdrifa's right to get back that Dimun Pirate, which we don't get the discard in that case. It's just an 8-point body, which is not terrible. But I'm thinking it may be time for the first round of Magic Compass at this point. So let's do it. And I think we definitely want to play Melusine. And put her next to, I mean, I guess, the Crows. And unfortunately, I don't think the discard from the Magic Compass triggers Coral's damage, which seems kind of odd to me. But that is why you didn't see them taking any hits there. Ooh, that's a big point slam. Okay. So, I mean, we can get 1 turn of damage out of Melusine, but with no Cultist next to her right now, it's not going to come back on our next turn. and not much is going to change that. So I am not sure if we want to play much here, because we are not going to be able to catch them with, I don't think, anything. Pirate is an 8. Gets us up to 25. Melusine, if we... we use that ability there as well. Is that sufficient? Just kind of like for Melusine to get a little more time to increase her base power, so we can bring her back as a target with Sigrdrifa's Rite, but that might be wishful thinking. I think we do kind of just need to pass here, because there wasn't any way we were going to be able to catch them there, but we did get most of the thinning we were looking to do. Okay, now this is big. We draw into Echo copy of Magic Compass. We get Rite of the Sea, which I think we still have both leader ability charges, so that should be fairly easy to set something up, like play Sigrdrifa's Rite, play it again with Rite of the Sea, and Fucusya, which we could use to do any of a number of things. A little more discard with the Skald. It's probably fine. We probably lead off with you and maybe even Fucusya or Rite of the Sea. Offering to the Sea might be a little tricky if they dry pass here, because they did play... Well, actually, they didn't play one more card than us, but they may still dry pass. Let's... yeah, get the Melusine Cultist so we have a unit that we're willing to just play outright if needed. Okay. Tempo pass, likely with Wild Hunt Rider. Makes sense. So, does mean that in that case, we're going to need to do something fairly big. It may even be worth bringing Melusine back immediately with Sigrdrifa's Rite. I think that is probably the answer. And then on our next turn, we can potentially use Rite of the Sea. Yeah, I think that's what we go for. So, Sigrdrifa's Rite. Let's go melee row Melusine, because we may want to use a leader ability charge in their melee row in the future and get some damage out of that, and that way we make sure that we put that Deafening Siren next to Melusine, potentially increase her base power. Okay, Ancient Foglet. That is potentially a huge engine for them. So how do we want to deal with that? We can Melusine Cultist next to Melusine to get order ability back. How much frost do we think they still have on their side to set up the Ancient Foglet further, or is this pretty much all they're going to do? I mean, obviously they have at least a leader ability charge, but Fucusya would give us what? Play a Crow Messenger, get the other one out from our deck. That's something, or rather out from our graveyard. What if we go with this? This. That is not the alchemy card I was looking for, but you know what? It actually does work. So, you know, we'll take it. Sure. I was planning to go with Sigrdrifa's Rite, but it does get rid of what was going to be their most dangerous engine. It does still allow us to get a Cultist next to Melusine, so we can use her order ability on both our next turn and turn after that if we'd like. So tempo-wise, we're looking good. We technically didn't need to use a second leader ability charge in that case, but maybe it worked out for the better there. Okay. So they just flat out didn't play a card. Obviously, we passed them here, so that much is good. Why don't we... let's go with the Melusine Cultist, since that's not crucially important, and I guess we'll go to this side of Melusine to further increase her base power. Don't actually need to use Melusine's Rain at the moment, since we still have that proccing there. Okay, now it's Osrail, so maybe that was just a strategic not going to play a card to see if they can bleed something out from us. But, okay, they do use a leader ability charge. That was their point slam, but it is still not enough for them to catch us. And with 2 damage units, it does not quite set up Eist, and Osrail's not going to be damaged anytime soon. But we are very close to having Magic Compass be an option here. I'd like to save Fucusya, because we have now built up a reasonable amount of base power on Melusine, so bring Melusine back in round 3 with Fucusya is what I would very much like to do. But go with the Skald and just discard whatever we draw into. That may be the play. kind of want to play it next to the Melusine Cultist to get the boost, but I also want to increase Melusine's base power. So I think we're going here. Perfect. Discard you. Actually works really well. We can do that. And we can do that. That last one might not have been necessary, but looking strong now in round 2, and it gives us more time to increase the base power on Melusine. So again, means that playing Fucusya in round 3 to bring back Melusine is becoming a more and more viable point slam option for us. And it's going to be pretty hard for them to catch us here. They've already played what I suspect was one of their few point slams. Wild Hunt Bruiser to move Melusine. Okay, I mean, it makes some sense. Still not enough, though, for them to catch us. Yet, we do need to play something. Otherwise, they will likely pass us. So, not quite at the point where Magic Compass is triggering here, which is unfortunate. In fact, at this point, with 4 cards in our deck, we need to be a little bit careful that we have enough cards to draw into in round 3, and we don't just flat out mill ourselves. So, I mean, is there an alternative option for Fucusya? Let's see. I mean, we could get out a Messenger of the Sea, would certainly be very big. That's an option. Do we save Eist? No, we might need to play him. I think we do need to play him. Wanted to save him. Definitely wanted to save him. I don't think we'll use Melusine's ability here. I wanted to save him because then we could have actually gotten cards onto the board with him. But yeah, so their bleed, in that sense, somewhat successful in that it did force us to play Eist, but it does also mean that we will have a 20-point Melusine that we'll bring back in round 3. Okay, so we have precisely 1 card in our deck. It is the Skald, which I'm thinking is probably a card that we're just going to want to banish. Do we still trigger the banishment, or rather discard with Magic Compass, even if we don't have 3 cards in our deck? Possibly. Otherwise, I think this actually looks pretty solid. Offering to the Sea may or may not work particularly well for us, but that's primarily there to set up Eist, and we obviously don't have Eist anymore, but I think we just stick with this. I think we do. So, we could either immediately go Fucusya into Melusine, which is a huge point slam. We could get Messenger of the Sea down there first for proactive setup, for getting a little more points when we start doing the rain, although we're not going to have that much setup for the rain. Suppose we could go Freya's Blessing to get one of these Melusine Cultists next to Melusine, get a little more rain, and make Melusine able to use her order again. So maybe that's what we're going to want to do, and then we'll finish with Magic Compass, or finish with Offering to the Sea, and give ourselves a little more time to do our stuff with Magic Compass. Yeah, I think either way, it is probably Fucusya into this Melusine. And we are just really hoping that they don't have any tall removal, because this Melusine is obviously pretty huge. No, they don't have dominance. They definitely don't have dominance. So now we can either go Freya's Blessing into a Melusine Cultist, or we can go Messenger of the Sea. Let's actually go Freya's Blessing into the Cultist, because that means we can get a Cultist next to Melusine and use this ability and still get it back on our next turn. Ardgeth, sure. It's not going to do too much to Melusine, though. She's too big. Then we go Messenger of the Sea now, and we should load up in this range row, and I mean, yes, we'll spare Fucusya by putting Messenger of the Sea next to Melusine, and then we can, we can further load up on the rain here. I guess we will. Technically, we don't really need Melusine to use her order ability unless they start playing stuff in the melee row. Okay, the Bruiser, a little unfortunate in that it moves Melusine away from her friends, where she's no longer going to get her base power increased. And it does mean that they're getting a little more damage out of the Frost, but now I think it is time. I think it is probably time to go with the Magic Compass, and we do have fewer than 3 cards in our deck, so we will get a legendary Skellige card here. What will it be, you ask? We have a whole lot of options. A whole lot of options. We could go Chad just to totally mess with them, because there are a lot of damage units out here. So he is going to get a lot of armor. It's probably going to prevent them from playing whatever their next card would have been. So why don't we do that? Put him next to Melusine. He'll tank a little bit of the damage from Melusine. Maybe make him slightly less effective when it comes to mitigating the next play they're going to make. But I think that's still a pretty strong option for us. Wild Hunt Warrior. Thanks, but no thanks. And then, I mean, I guess we can go Offering to the Sea. It's not really going to make a huge difference for us here, because, well, I mean, we're tanking 1 point of damage. They're taking 1 point of damage. It's basically just redistributing points elsewhere. So, yeah, it's not really a big deal. But, sure. Why not? It does put the Siren next to Melusine, which increases her base power. Not really sure that matters at this point, but either way, we don't really need that ability there, so there you have it. Looking pretty strong. It's Oberon. He's going to get destroyed by Ernachad. The Wild Hunt Bruiser will not, though. We'll get a little bit damaged, but we will still take the win. So there's a look at a new Skellige Hyperthin deck built around the Magic Compass card from the Forgotten Treasures expansion. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.